It's your girl BW. We're back again with another episode of the Black Future Podcast. We have a special guest with us in the building. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people. Let us know who you are, what you do, and just everything. Mariah.
Okay. Well, my name is Mariah Dean, but I go by Mo Dean pretty often. I am a former Tennessee Tech basketball player. The only reason I mention that is because they go into the NCAA tournament. Yes. But yeah, I have 3 degrees. I have a bachelor's in Spanish. I was bored, you know what they say. I have a bachelor's in Spanish, a master's in education, and a master's in business administration.
Nice.
And so it all kind of helps with just organizing life as far as like affording opportunities. So
Right.
But yeah, I am a documentary maker, and I'm an aspiring filmmaker because I want to make one of those real feature films.
Right.
So I'm an aspiring filmmaker, but I am a documentarian maker.
Right. Documentarian.
And, yeah, there you go. Documentarian. There you go. And I'm also a business consultant. So I have my own company called Mo Dean Management, and we help young business owners or entrepreneurs start their business by filing the paperwork for the state.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's what about me.
Nice. Awesome. So how did you get into documentaries? What inspired that?
Girl, I tripped into it. One day I was going into a racetrack just to get me a cup of coffee, and this old man is standing at the register, and he watches me walk in. I'm all about my business, girl. So when I walk in, he comes up to me while I'm getting my coffee, and he says, "Excuse me, ma'am." And I'm like, "Yes," like, your geezer, And he was like, right. He was like, "You just came in with so much grace and presence. May I ask you, what do you do?" And so at the time, I was a talent manager at the time.
Right.
So I was like, "Well, I'm a talent manager." And he says, "Well, that's good news because I'm talent." And so I was like, "Is that right?" He said, "Let me buy you coffee. Let's talk." So I said, "Okay." He buys the coffee and we sit down. I'm like, "Okay, so what makes you talent?" I laughed so hard because it was in the time period that he was pulling this crap off.
Right,
it was
right.
Jim Crow, 1950s, 1960s. You still running, trying to not get hung, trying to get strung up.
Right.
And you got the guts to play these games and pull these crimes with these white people.
We'll get into it because that's the basis of her documentary, The Confessions of a Black Con Man, The Road to Redemption. If you guys haven't checked it out, it is on Tubi, free. Like, literally, you gotta do just download it and then watch it. Like, you don't have to sign up. You ain't gotta put your credit card in. It's literally free.
Free, girl. Free.
Free 99. So go ahead and check it out. That's what we'll be discussing today. So that led into like my question is, how did you come across Quasi? Like, how did you find this guy? And he just approached you at the gas station.
He found me at the gas station. And I swear to you, this entire experience, because that's what it was.
Right.
It was just I'm in the dark, but I'm going to move forward because I think I might see the light, but I'm not too sure. But I would rather keep moving forward and get to the light than stay here and be like, I'm scared. He just told me he was a con man,
Right.
and that was always the biggest question. But I always go off of intuition, and I call it the feels, so whenever I get presented with an opportunity, because you get a lot of them, but you have to know which ones to sift through.
True.
And when I met him, I was captured by these feels. I got so, anxious and excited about the idea of whatever is to come.
Right.
But I never knew what was to come. We just going to pursue it and it will show itself.
Right.
And so I told him that day, after he got done telling me these wild stories, I said, "Man, I don't know how we gonna do this, but we need to record these stories.
Right.
I don't know what's gonna happen, but let's just record them."
Right.
And so he says, "Okay." So that day we go over to the Office Depot, print out a contract, sign the contract the same day. I had no idea what I was gonna do with this man.
Right.
But I was just going off on faith. Like, girl, I don't know.
Right. But wait, is Quasi his real name?
No, his real name is Willie Alvin Jones.
That sounds Mississippi.
Yes.
That
Willie Alvin
when
Jones.
I was watching it, it's like Quasi Tombe, but I'm like, that's like a
Shombe, yeah, Quasi Shombe, yeah.
he said he grew up in Mississippi, and it's not like they was fresh off the boat. So how did he? And I was like, is Quasi his real?
Girl, not at all, not at all. And was born in Valdosta, Georgia, girl. But you know, as he evolved and as his personality started to change, he saw himself differently. And Willie Alvin Jones was just a little ugly black kid, you know, from the country.
Right.
He's not that anymore.
Right. So tell us about the Confessions of a Black Con Man, like what it is about.
So it's really just Quasi's recount of all of the crimes that he used to pull, as far as like conning these white businesses out of their money, just different financial white collar crimes essentially. But to me, when I met Quasi, he was 79 going into his 80s. So he's an old man at this point who lives with a lot of regret. And I noticed that when he talks about it, he does live in this glare of glory, but there's a lot of repercussions that came with that lifestyle that he you know, he's like feeling regretful for.
Right.
And so when we started to pursue the project, it really became his moment to confess all of his sins and what he did do while he's still living, and pledge that he's going to move forward and teach people and show people how to avoid, you know, being conned. Basically.
Yeah.
So Confessions of a Black Con Man is experiencing the journey through first person storytelling about his crimes and his sins as he confesses. But we like to, with it, we cross examined it with professionals that work in the field today, because, you know, I didn't want Confessions of a Black Con to be a handbook on how to con people. So I had to like put a little stop sign in there with facts, like, okay, you used to could do that in the 50s and 60s, but we're in the 29, you know, and people still pull crimes today.
I was gonna say, I actually know somebody who's pulled a couple of those cons that he did, and I was like,
still today, like
today in the 2023,
exactly.
Like a con, like acting like you're a pastor. Like I know somebody who, like, legitimately acted like they was a pastor to try to get people money.
Yeah.
Who legitimately did the check fraud situation, and I was like, wow, that they did this in the 2000s, and this man did this in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s.
Exactly. And so crimes are everlasting, it sounds like. But, you know, at least you get somebody to put you up on game these days. Like, okay, these are the things to look out for. But with Confessions of a Black Con, we wanted to take those CPAs and the bankers and you know, these rental car people, and we wanted to give their real life perspective. Does this still happen? The answer is yes, as you told us. But have they taken measures to prevent it from happening? And the answer also
it sounds like
is
no.
yes.
It sounds like no, it's still happening.
I said trying. They trying.
How long does it... Now, they enacted segregation in like a matter of 30 seconds.
You ain't lying.
Now, how long is it going to take to do some bank regulations?
Okay. But you're right, though. If you got the time, but my thing always is, if you got the time to peep out the weak points in the justice system or in the federal system or the monetary system, do your thing. True. But couldn't you reallocate that energy to something good for the community too? Like, you know?
Not the Robin Hoods. I mean, that's what they say about the drug dealers, you know? They give back, like they take from the neighborhoods and then also give back. So it's just like,
oh, Lord. You know? Right. It's just a cycle of we gonna work it out.
Right. So tell us about your process in making this documentary. You said you guys went to the Home Depot with the Office Depot. Office Depot. Mm-hmm. Home Depot.
It's okay.
The Office Depot got a contract, and then from there, like, what was your next steps?
So this process actually took a course of 2 years because I never knew the next step right away. Right. And so after we signed the contract, the first step was to record the stories. So I call up my boy Sid, and I'm like, Sid, you know, he's a filmographer, director, a videographer, there you go. And so I said, you know, I got this guy, he got some great stories. Can we just record? Give us a discount because I'm a little broke, you know? And so he's like, okay, Bo, no worries. So we get into the studio, and I have him, my friend Asia, she's doing the makeup, and then my friend Lauren, she's the PA. Like, we're winging it, girl. I'm talking on a fly. And so this happened a week after we signed the contract. So as we get in there, I'm trying to like coach Quasi step by step on, yeah, you need to do this. And says to me, he says, Mo, just let him be him.
Right.
We control the visual on the editing back end, but let him be him. And when Quasi heard that, he just sprung to life, girl. But the room was so electrifying with synergy. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't breathe. I'm like, we got to take a minute. Like, let's go outside. Let's calm down before we get to shooting, because the feels were taking me over. I'm like, we're supposed to do this. This is supposed to happen. And so when we all calmed down and we got back in there, we shot it. And I mean, he was phenomenal.
Right.
You know?
He looks like the person, you know, just here's a microphone, we're going to press record.
Go. Tell this story. Go. That's all you need to say. And sometimes I'll be like, hold up, you slow it down. Wait a minute. Okay, you're telling too much of the story.
Right.
We trying to teardrop them, okay? But yes, girl. So after we got that, the film honestly set for about 6 months.
Wow.
Because I'm like, do I do it like the American Greed style, or do I do it like the Catch Me If You Can? Like, do I bring extras? Like, I'm thinking so many ideas.
Right.
And so I love the idea of just being still. So I started to pick up meditation and just quieting the noise around me so that I can really, really feel what's coming next, you know?
Right.
And so one day I went on this little getaway for the weekend and I had no noise around me. I wake up that morning and it drops so clearly in my spirit. Well, you have the stories, but you need to validate if any of this stuff is true. And so I'm like, how do we validate? Well, you get professionals. Okay, well, what professionals? Well, what cons did he do? You know, so you start asking these questions in your quiet moments. And so then my next steps were like, boom, I know what to do. Let me find this list of professionals. And so then COVID hit. And so red tape went up everywhere. The bankers didn't want to talk to me. The CPAs didn't want to talk to me. The rental car people was like, F you, you know, like nobody. And I'm just thinking, I know this is supposed to happen. And by divine, it was, girl, when I tell you it was nothing but divine intervention every step of the way, because one of my best friends from college, he was a manager at Hertz. So I'm like, can I interview you for it? You know, so he's like, of course. Then when the CPA, she happened to be my CPA for Modine Management. So I reached out to her. She's like, of course I would love to. Yeah. The banker was tricky because nobody wanted to talk about nothing about fraud, nothing about a con man, you know, and they're representing SunTrust and Chase Banks. So I was going to this job interview to work at Peloton. And when you get off the exit, there's this Georgia United Bank to the right. And so when I was leaving there, I would always pass by this doggone bank, but I never stopped. So one day I was trying to find a black-owned bank, which is hilarious because that is not a black-owned bank, but they're close close in names. So as I'm driving to find a bank so I can open my business account for Modine Management, I decide, let me pull over into this bank. Pull over, I get out, I stand in line for effing 10 minutes, get to the front, and I ask the lady, I want to open up a business bank account. So she says, oh, our business banker isn't here today, but have a seat in the lobby for just a second. So I go sit down in the lobby, and this little black dude walks out, and he was like, well, my manager is the one who opens up the bank accounts and stuff, but come on, let's talk a little bit so I can at least see what you need to point you in the right direction. So we get to talking, and he's looking at my paperwork, and he says, if you don't mind me asking, like, what do you do? And so I said, well, I make documentaries, I do this. And he says, really? I'm thinking, I just put my 2 weeks in today.
That his 2 week notice.
He put his 2 weeks in notice that day. He was like, I decided I'm going to pursue my, videography full time. I just decided that. And so I was like, you want to be on a documentary? So he was like, bet, tell me where to go. So it was just like a divine intervention, as long as I was pursuing, the way was being made. And so then I got all of their interviews and things like that, and I needed a pastor. I needed a couple of pastors. Right. So, just tapping into those personal networks. So when I got all the professionals, and I know I'm going on and on, girl, but when I got all those professionals, I recorded their interviews, did all that. And again, it sat for another 2 to 3 months because I'm like, I have this, but what next? Like, what do we do next? Right. And so again, with the time to just be still. So 2 months go by and I'm thinking, we have his stories, we have their stories, and I start to piece together the narrative. Right. So I'm like, okay, almost a year has gone by, and we have his stories and we have the interviews they're all edited together. That part's done. But how do we bring this bad boy in, and how do we take this bad boy out?
Right,
you know? And so one day I wake up and the question was, we know what he did. We know how he did it. But what happened next?
Right.
So I'm like, let's get him back into the studio and let's ask him what happened next. So we sit him down, we put him in front of the green screen, we ask him what happened next, we get those, we cut it together, you know, and boom, now we have a documentary.
Nice.
And it really started off as a 4-part series. It wasn't actually a full documentary, it was a docuseries. But as we pursued, like, we got our, you know, personal our public relations person, and she kind of was coaching us. No, it needs to be a cohesive thing. It needs to be this. So it took its shape.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's
nice.
It took 2 years, girl. But at the end of it, when it saw the culmination of just faith, it was beautiful.
Right. I want to ask you, so in speaking with him, did he ever mention, because, okay, let's go back into, like, some of the things that he actually did. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He started off as a child falsifying the record books. Mm-hmm. So, like, they weren't slaves, but they were sharecroppers. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you pick the cotton, you get paid for how much cotton you picked. And he was already starting off a little child, falsified. Yeah, I picked 10 pounds, knowing he picked like 2 pieces.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, I'm going to bag back, because he was like, you know what, watching my mom go through some bull crap growing up, like, I don't want to be in her situation. Like, forget these white people, but I want to be white because I see the advantage and the leg up that they have, but also forget them at the same time. So he started off at 7 years old. 7, I'm just naming the age. Falsifying the record books. I picked X amount of cotton when, you know, he didn't. And he was like, let me help out the other black people because they can't read or write either. So, you know what? I'm going to say that you picked 50 pounds. I'm going to say you did this amount. And one of my favorite parts in the documentary, when the white man was like, now, I know y'all didn't pick this much cotton. Did you really pick 50 pounds? And the black lady was like, no, sir. No, I ain't do that.
I ain't never picked 50 pounds that much. Kwasi was looking like, if you don't shut up.
He was like, you just can't help everybody.
He said, I realized then black folks was dumb too.
Right, but I was yelling.
Girl. I swear, trying to help a sister out. Look at you.
Messed up the whole scheme up. That was so funny. So then he went from that to he moved somewhere. I can't remember where he said.
Yeah, he moved to Connecticut to be with his aunt, and that's when he experienced or had a taste of opulence. You know what I'm saying? So when he was growing up, he saw the white man with his hands in his pockets, but he saw the black man digging the ditches. Like, I want my hands in my pocket. I ain't trying to dig the ditches. But he only saw white men that were comfortable. He gets to Connecticut, and now he's seeing black people who are comfortable too, you know. And so that's when he got his taste of, oh yeah, I need that kind of life. Right. And I'm going to get that life by acting like these white men who got that life, you know, and I'm going to get these white men for not having that life. You know.
And so he went to, when he said he would get rental cars, which I'm a little slow. I didn't know they had rental cars back in like the 50s. I was like, what?
You know what? Me too, girl. Me too. I had to validate. A lot of this story had to be validated.
Right. And so that's true.
Yes.
That is interesting.
Yes.
So he was renting cars, and then he would drive them from up north, basically, back down to, he said specifically Mississippi and Alabama, because he said there are no title companies. Like, no, you don't have to have a title state. You don't have a title to trade this in or whatever. So he would sell those cars to
the white used car lot salesman, right? So this one of my favorite stories, because the white car salesman know that this Cadillac you just drove down here can go for $5,500, but because he's a black dude, and he even used the con like I'm a young doctor trying to open up my practice here for the colored people, you know. Right. He putting on his BS, but even posing as a doctor, that white man looked at him and was like, $2,500 is all I can do. That's all it's worth. Like, you think I'm a fool? I just told you I'm a doctor. Right, you know, but you know what? I'm going to take it though. Because I'm making all that money while you over here buying a stolen car, dummy.
Right.
You know?
Right. And then there's the messed up part about it, because when the Hertz guy came on, he was like, again, like even to this day, right? If somebody sells the car lot a stolen car, and I buy that car, and I'm driving around, and the police pull me over,
Pop them tags.
I'm going to jail. Like, what?
Yes.
I gotta go to jail.
Yes. He didn't do his due diligence and clean the title up. That's exactly right. And see, now that part they done cracked down on, because I work in insurance. I'm an insurance adjuster. I told you I do a lot of jobs.
Right.
But I'm an insurance adjuster, and now you can type in a VIN and it pulls up everything.
Right.
You know, so if you got a VIN that's stolen, baby, you are going to jail. Sorry.
Because you can Google this. But now you can Google this.
You should have Googled this.
Back then they had Google.
Exactly. The benefits of paper-based accounting systems.
That is so funny. And then, so he went from selling cars to stolen cars to car lots to what he did next.
So he did the car lot thing for a while. Then he started selling fake plane tickets for a little bit.
That was interesting, because I was like, how did you do that?
You know what? He went into detail in the rough drafts of the documentary on that, and he went into detail on how to
because he did checks also.
He did checks too. He floated. His biggest thing was floating checks, because it would take 2 weeks for that check to go from standard mail all the way from, one side of the state to the other.
Right.
So if you file enough checks and cash enough checks and return enough things with the checks you done bought, that system is taking a while to catch up. Just like in that Catch Me If You Can movie. So he took advantage of it. And with the fake plane tickets, girl, I was like, you know what? We gonna visit that part another day, because that's a lot.
Right.
But the feds came in investigating it, and when he told on himself to the feds,
that's the thing. He wasn't afraid.
He wasn't scared.
He was not afraid.
Girl, that's why I think he had that white man complex. Like, he just knew he was equal, so he's sitting there talking like they can still get you.
Right.
But no, when he told on himself and the feds told him, like, yeah, you can file for a Rule 20, you can get all these charges here in Chicago. You ain't got to go to Mississippi to be charged, because if you go to Mississippi to be charged, they gonna hang you.
Right.
And so he was like, so now I can get the law to work in my favor too. And that's when it kind of sparked, like, oh yeah, I know how to play the game now.
Right.
And so he went from the rental cars to the check. He would flow his checks. Then he got into mortgage lending. And he got into his mortgage lending, which that story is great, by the way. And then he gets into acting as a pastor and getting these people to give him money.
Oh my God.
That one, girl, he tell you right now, all I got to do is act like a pastor, go into a town, I'm going to give me some money. Sir. Like,
it's my truth.
Yes. And it brings a serious question. Like, how many pastors really be out here doing that?
Right. And that's what the pastor said. It was like, you have to know, like, which ones are for real and which ones are not.
Exactly.
So that's reminds me of, like, a story. We went to a church, and, like, they're like, oh, if you don't have cash for the offering, you can cash app us. And they had the cash app on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Not a cash app.
Girl, Zelle too, if you're careful.
It's like,
they want the Lord's house to get their funds any way possible.
This is no longer when I was a little child. My mom give me a quarter, like, hey, baby, go put this in the basket. The quarter is nothing.
Baby, not now. It's a drop in the blood of Jesus.
Oh my God. And it was, I wondered, because I also wondered, because he was telling the story, he was a pastor, and he went to the lady house, and he was like, I need $5,000 or whatever, and they started talking, and then the lady was like, do you still need the money? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He half forgot. But then he was like, oh yeah, I said, need it, and she went and got like boatloads of money.
Girl, yes.
And was like, I can't put this in the bank. I'm like, dang, did you take all that lady money, or did you teach her how to con? At any point, did he pass his knowledge along to anybody?
He ain't teach nobody nothing. He took it all for himself.
Oh my goodness.
He took it all for himself. That lady had a lot of money. I honestly think she was getting like some type of government assistance, but she was making her money on the side. Right. So when you put that money in the bank, it stops the government assistance. Right. And so she was just packing away what she was hustling. And so I think that actually was common amongst a lot of black folk in that time, is they know how to say the yes, yes, absolutely, and then a a big middle finger as soon as you turn your back. I'm gonna get my money on the side.
Right, exactly.
And so I think that was 100% the mentality floating around. Like, we already are at a disadvantage, so why not take advantage of the system the best I can? I'm already starting from behind.
Right. And I also want to know, did he at any point think about that there is another way to success, like in his journey? He's like, you know what? Maybe I should just go to college. Maybe I should just be a real doctor, be a real lawyer.
Nope, it took too long. All of the real ways took too long. Like, absolutely. He'll tell you, I wanted fast money. I wanted to live a good life. And I knew how to do that by what I was doing.
Yeah.
And everything else took too long.
Yeah.
But that fast life, that fast money, it come fast and it go fast too. And after a while, I think it got out of hand, because once you get these $10,000 checks and these, $20,000 deals, and you go buy that big old house, you still got to make payments on that house the next month.
Right.
You buy all these fancy tailored clothes, you still got to make payments on all this stuff. So I think after a while, it just snowballed out of control, where he was just trying to keep afloat all of the shit he had going. Right. And so it became less of an intentional thing and more of a, I'm just trying to survive. Yeah. This shit, I just poked a hole in.
Like I said, he wasn't scared, because I would have took like the last $2,000 check and was gone. Like, catch me if you really can. I'm gonna go to Mexico. I'm gonna go to Dominican Republic. Like, I can't go to jail. And he didn't spend a lot of years in jail. He was spent like 3 years here.
Yes.
Couple years here. In the mental institution.
Yes. That's what you know what? When I think about Quasi acting crazy. First of all, that's my favorite part in the entire documentary. When he told the story about the dude, he said, I done stole him this car. And he mad because I done went down to the bank and cashed the check. And then when he went down there, they said,
had blood on his shirt.
Girl, a little dirt, a little something. Girl, he had me rolling. Talking about he got mad because I went down to the bank and took the money out. Yeah, because you just bought a car from me.
I asked the judge, how your mama doing?
Yeah, Judge. Man, your mama used to go way back. Like, you have some guts, Negro. Like, you have some guts and some audacity. If nothing else, it was running free.
Oh my goodness.
And I swear to you, but him acting a fool because he was Quasi is smart. Well, in his older days, he ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer these days. Yeah, because he's getting older. Right. But his mind is still very sharp. And at that time, he's thinking, okay, I could go to jail right now, and I could be sleeping on these uncomfortable cots and dealing with all these Negroes and getting beat up and doing all that. Or
I can go to the mental.
I could just go act a little crazy, And so my favorite part, it was when he was talking about, black people try to act crazy. They want to fight and cuss and throw beers and cans, throw bottles and cans. Quasi, we don't even throw bottles and cans anymore, sir. But, they would rather do that to seem crazy. And it's like, no, that's just going to get your ass beat. And that's what happened a lot of the time. Right. And so his thing was a psychological game. Like, these white cops know how to get us with force. But they don't know how to get us if we crazy for real, like incapable. They don't know how to get us with empathy. Mm-hmm. So they don't know what to do.
Nowadays they just shooting us. Back then they was probably, I don't know.
Girl, I don't even
Anyway, did you guys come up with the idea of him when he was doing his interviews dressing in those certain costumes? Yes. Like he had his pastor uniform on, he had the little dirty shirt.
Yeah. Yes, that was 100% planned. Just to kind of keep a little bit of visual relevance with the story, you know what I'm saying? So that part was planned out. Yeah. And it was his idea too. Now, I wanted to get him in that real traditional preachers. Girl, his favorite place to shop is Goodwill. He be tearing it up. I should have told him to find one. But the little collar work.
Yeah.
But that was definitely intentional.
Right. So what was the final thing that got him out the con? Was it the church? Because he was telling the story about like how he was a pastor. And the other pastor pulled him in and was like, yo, Sister so-and-so said you've been sleeping with her, but then you was also sleeping with her, but then you was also sleeping with the cousin and then the niece. And he was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go.
I'm just gonna get out. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm just gonna leave. I think that's what's best. You got off scot-free, if you ask me.
Right.
But his last moment, what really made him, that got him out the church. He ain't ever went back to the church. He tried to go back to the church in his older years, and I'm like, look, Quasi, we might need to wait on that still. Like, we got to see the redemption part first.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But his final draw was the last time he got out of his last little prison bed. He says at the end, he went and he was pushing the wall, and the wall wasn't going anywhere to the jail, the wall to outside the jail. He says the wall wasn't going anywhere. And I realized that this place going to be here long when I'm gone. So I cannot penetrate this place. I can't shake and change this.
Right.
So I'm going to have to shake and change me.
Right.
You know, and that realization was like, let me get out now before I really am here for the rest of my life. And so that part saved his life. I really do believe. And now, ever since that decision he made, it's just been, how can I make up for all of that crap that I pulled?
So what is he doing?
So
what is he doing job-wise, and what is he doing to redeem himself?
Good question. So Quasi is like, he has his, what do older people get? Social Security? So he has his
Well, how
setup
he get Social
with
Security
that.
and no job?
We can't even talk about it
That's
on
not
air.
even...
I'll tell you after air. I'll tell you off the air. But one of his cons got him some stuff for life. He
settled. Get up on him.
He settled for life.
Listen, we're not even gonna get Social Security, as they say.
He actually served in the military for a little bit. He's he's a discharged vet or a retired vet, so he get his vet benefits. He was in the military for about 12 days. He get his full vet benefits.
Oh my God!
I can't believe it,
brother.
That was you know what? You did that, Big Papa. You know what I'm saying? But now we have this new show that we're developing now called It Ain't What You Think It Is. But he's also a motivational speaker. So he goes around and he speaks to people about the real reality of fast life, or you know, whatever facade. Because now, you know, you have social media, people looking like they living large, they doing the damn thing, they scamming, they getting fast money. And he's here to be like, yeah, all of that is nice. But then at the end of it all, when you're 80, your relationships are trashed because you've taken advantage of everybody you've been with. You know, nobody trusts you because you done scammed and lied and did all this stuff. You don't have any money because you done spent it fast after making it fast. So he goes and he tells people the truth about what that kind of life is going to yield, which is nothing at the end of the day. He was just blessed to be able to survive that trash life and still be here, you know. And so that's his way to give back. And again, that church, he said he wouldn't open up, but I was like, we're going to have to talk to the Lord a little bit more, because he ain't really put that on my heart. He ain't really put that on my heart.
So are you managing him talent-wise? He's a talent. He is a character.
He is. He need to be on somebody's show. Girl, just a cameo here and there. But, yeah, so I manage him. He's the last person I said I would ever manage, because, baby, talent management is not for the weak, okay? Or the faint of heart. But, yeah, so technically I am his manager, and we're working on, actually, his screenplay, the script for WhiteCon. So that's the feature film to BlackCon that actually shows him as a child growing up and all that stuff.
Narrative.
Yeah, the narrative of it all. And so ideally, I hope that thing it gets developed and it gets financed and we get him some real money so he ain't got to do nothing, But that's the real plan.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's going around speaking the truth and trying to expose the conning lifestyle for what it really is. I even tell him Quasi does have some outdated perspectives on a lot of stuff, like women's place in a household and stuff like that. He has a lot of outdated perspectives, but I always have to come in and frame them, because he'll say something like, a single mom will come in and want a six-figure man. Sound like Kevin Samuels, want a six-figure man, da-da-da-da-da. But what do you bring to the table? I said, we're so tired of hearing that damn phrase. Shut up. I don't want to hear it. No. But what I shaped it, or what he shaped it as after he gets done talking about it for 20 minutes is, what are you doing to invest in yourself to make yourself an asset and not a liability to that man? That's the real question.
Yeah.
It's not, what do you bring to the table? It's, are you bringing a liability or are you bringing an asset? 6 little liabilities or 6 little assets? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because that's not...
You're going to make these little kids a basketball squad? You got a whole team right here.
Right.
Or you're
let them? Exactly. So it's not about if she a single mom, if she a big woman, if she a skinny woman. It's about you as a partner, man and woman. Are you yourself an asset to the person you're trying to be with, or are you a liability?
Nice.
You know, and so, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm actually, what did you learn about yourself along through the process of making a documentary?
Oh, that's a good question. To just trust myself and actually to finish. And in the industry, I think, even in the indie industry, because that's really where I'm at, I'm not even in Hollywood yet.
Hey, we all coming up.
Right,
you know
right. But everybody can start it. And everybody do start, you know. But not very many people finish.
Right.
And that, I found out, I'm a finisher. And that's a very valuable person to be. And so, yeah, that's what I learned.
Nice.
I ain't no little bitty bitch. That's my favorite thing. I ain't no little bitty bitch.
No, you tall.
I am big. Like, oh, I walked in, he was like, whoa. It's all good. I get it a lot.
No. So, okay, you spoke about a little bit about making the documentary into a feature. So where are you at with that? And then what other projects do you have coming up? I'm in the screen. I keep saying screenwriting. I'm in the script phase. So I'm on like page 12. So that's nice. Like minute 12. So I'm writing that script right now. And then we're also planning out the episodes for It Ain't What You Think It Is, the actual talk. We haven't decided if it's going to be like a podcast style or like a web series or a little TV show. Mm-hmm. We haven't decided how to encapsulate it yet. But we've laid out the episodes and what we're going to talk about and things like that. And so that project is coming up. And then, of course, if there are any speaking gigs for Quasi, we're always pushing toward that. Right. But It Ain't What You Think It Is, the talk show, and then WhiteCon, the film. Those are the next two projects that I'm working on with the production company. Nice. Talk about your decision to put it on Tubi versus like Amazon Prime, or like how did you come to the decision to do Tubi? So, funny story, I actually met two women before it ever even got into a documentary. I told you it was a docuseries at first. Right. So before it ever got to the documentary phase, I met with two women, and one of the women was a representative for Tubi. Nice. And so I brought them to my apartment, let them watch it. They loved the film, and the lady says, let me send it to my partner, let him watch it so we can make a decision. Well, the partner was like, no, we do not want this. And so Tubi turned me down, actually. Excuse me. And then Wendy, she was my public relations person. She actually is the one who brokered the deal between me and Film Hub. So Film Hub is a distribution company that has like 300 and something channel partners. Right. And then once you pass their qualifications, they put your movie or your whatever on a catalog. And they send it out to all these 300 people. Right. Or streaming sites. Right. And those streaming sites get to pick. So the first streaming site to pick us was Amazon Prime. I was so proud, like, yeah, we about to be on Amazon Prime. Like, yeah, I was, girl, what? You know? Right. And then, like, freaking 5 weeks go by, and then they denied me. I was like, oh, why you just snatching away? You can't renege. Girl, that's what I said. Oh, I cried. Oh, I was so heartbroken, like I'm a failure, you know? No, so, you can't renege. And I just didn't know why, but you know, it just didn't fit in what they were trying to do. A lot of shorts, Amazon is kind of getting away from shorts. If you're 45 minutes under, they're not really trying to deal with you right now because they have a lot of those right now. Yeah. And so anyway, after them, Tubi was the next one to pick us up on the catalog. And I'm like, how about that? So I ended up making it on Tubi now, anyway, you know, with that other person telling me that he didn't like it. But by the time Tubi saw it, it was a cohesive project. You know, it was clean and it was ready to go. Right. And so I kind of jumped the gun the first time, which patience is important. Right. And so Tubi came, and now we're also on Nuclear Home Video and this other streaming site called Momitu. So far we're on 3 total, and of course we're hoping that more pick us up. Yeah. But nice. Tubi picked us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tubi got some good stuff. I watched the show, McGraw Avenue. It's about drug dealing. Somebody told me to watch it. I still haven't watched it. I watched the first season on Amazon Prime. It was like one day I was just at home off. So I was like, oh, this. I mean, you know, it's low budget, but it's like, they got a good story going.
They be good. The low budgets be good. Can I lie?
Right.
Can I lie? I like me a black movie, baby.
Yeah,
Blockbusters are my favorites.
Love.
Okay?
I will sit there and watch.
The whole time, my favorite one is Pootie Tang. My man told me not to admit that.
Hey, Pootie Tang was that.
I just, baby,
funny.
the idea of giving corporate America an ass whooping just sits right in my spirit.
Oh, that is so funny.
Yes, I love me a good black cinema.
Love it. So tell everybody again, you can watch the Confessions of a Black Common on Tubi. But where can people follow you just to know what your production company have going?
Okay, you can follow me on Instagram at Motivation Productions. So that's MOD as in Dean. That's my last name. MODIVATION_productions. Or you can follow my business management page, Modine_management.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Any last words for the guests, for the people?
I hope you guys watch, Confessions of a Black Con. I hope you enjoy it. And be on the lookout for White Con, because I definitely think that's going to be the next big thing.
Yeah. It's hilarious. I can't wait for it already. Just based on the
I've been laughing writing it. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. But I think it's going to be great.
It's going to be the Black Catch Me If You Can.
Yes, exactly. That's my thought. So if we can get Leonardo DiCaprio's budget, then
hey, you don't even need Leo's budget. You just go with a plan and just do it.
You're right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for coming on again. Catch all episodes of the Black Picture Podcast on the website The Modern Crowd. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Go Local Plus.